Escalating tensions amid an already rocky relationship, North Korea blowing up a joint liaison office used for talks with South Korea. Here now is Bruce Klingner, a senior research fellow for the Heritage Foundation and a former CIA deputy chief for Korea. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of this move?
It's part of increasingly vitriolic remarks by the North toward the South, as well as increasingly negative comments about President Trump. And both of them are trying to push Washington and Seoul towards more concessions, more benefits, as well as burnish the hardline credentials of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister, who's now seemingly the bad cop in engaging with South Korea.
Yeah. Blowing up this station in particular, quite a dramatic move. But South Korea, had often seemed to advocate on the side of North Korea with the U.S. It almost seems like, biting the hand that's been on your side.
Right. Well, the blowing up the liaison office was very provocative, but it was symbolic. Really, North Korea has been rejecting dialogue with both Seoul and Washington for the last year, and that building hasn't been used since at least January. So it was, very petulant. It was provocative, but it really hasn't, raised tensions, by itself. That said, North Korea has vowed to do other things, reoccupy guard posts along the DMZ, which had been vacated 2 years ago as part of an inter-Korean military agreement, and also some veiled threats about perhaps some actions along a disputed maritime boundary in the West Sea, and then also some comments suggesting perhaps they're going to get back to provocations such as longer-range missile launches. So, they're really trying to push Seoul and Washington, and South Korea has been really conciliatory towards the North. They're reacting or they're responding to North Korea's demands.
Yeah. So where does that leave our relationship right now? I mean, this is one of the news stories that dominated our headlines that we've taken our eye off of because there is so much that has been going on domestically, even to the extent that we were playing that guessing game of where was Kim Jong-un and was his sister now in charge. We've largely taken our eye off this situation. Where does it stand?
Well, at the end of last year, North Korea had said there was a deadline that the U.S. must respond or really abandon our policy and make it softer towards North Korea. They threatened to unveil a strategic weapon, and then really nothing has happened since the beginning of the year until now. And that may have been because of COVID. They really shut down the country a lot. Kim Jong-un perhaps had health problems, which led to 2 extended absences. And so now they may be coming back to their usual game of provocation. Although, people are more concerned about what's going on, in the near term, if it were a barroom fight right now, we're still at the hold me back stage rather than having devolved to the, hold my beer and watch me do something. But North Korea has also talked about the U.S. presidential election several times, which is unusual. And I think they see that, or they perceive that they have more leverage than they do in the U.S. election. They may feel that the president doesn't want any kind of provocations in the run-up to an election, and therefore he would give them more benefits or more concessions, such as relaxing sanctions, in order to keep North Korea from doing an ICBM or a nuclear test.
I wonder how much it impacts our relationship with them that our relationship with China has deteriorated so much over this period of time. I mean, from the trade war to now everything surrounding the coronavirus, how has that impacted this situation?
Well, they may see that they have some negotiating room in that if the U.S. and China are warring in different ways, that gives them some running room in order to try to raise concerns through provocations. But they also need to be wary about going too far. The president has pretty much ignored a lot of violations of UN resolutions with 35 missile launches since the Singapore summit, all of which were violations. But he's articulated that, ICBM or nuke test would be different. And so if North Korea crosses that line, we're back into unknown territory, perhaps back to the fire and fury rhetoric of 2017.
Bruce Klingner, thank you so much. Connell.